I swear, I thought my daughter was just tired. Maybe the long security line, the crowd, the endless announcements, something had worn her out. But the moment she pointed at that woman 2 rows ahead of us, my whole world froze. "Daddy," she whispered, her little hand trembling. "It's Mom." My heart almost stopped because my wife, my beautiful, kind wife, had died 3 years ago. Before you go on, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you believe about reality and about people you think you've lost forever. I tried to calm her down. "Emma," I said softly, "that's not Mom, sweetheart. She just looks like her." But even as I said those words, my eyes followed the woman's reflection in the airplane window, and something inside me twisted. Her profile, her way of brushing her hair behind her ear, it was identical to my wife, Laura. I couldn't stop staring. My mind began replaying the night Laura's car went off that bridge, the call from the police, the weeks of grief that followed. Her body was never recovered, but everyone, including the authorities, had accepted that she was gone. I buried her in my heart and tried to move on, for Emma's sake. But there, 30,000 feet above the ocean, was a woman who looked like her. Same brown hair, same posture, same subtly scarred just beneath her ear. I told myself it was impossible, just a coincidence. But then she turned slightly to the side, and I saw something that made my skin crawl. On her wrist was a bracelet, the same silver one I had gifted Laura on our 5th anniversary. A bracelet custom made with her initials engraved inside. I couldn't breathe. My throat tightened. Every rational thought in me screamed that this was someone else. But deep down, something darker whispered, "What if she never died? What if she left you?" I kept my eyes on her for almost the entire flight. She never looked back, but there was something off. Her movements were too controlled, too cautious, like someone trying not to be recognized. Every time a flight attendant passed by, she'd adjust her sunglasses or pretend to be asleep. Emma kept fidgeting. "Daddy, why is Mom not saying hi? Is she angry?" I forced a smile, my hands shaking. "No, sweetie, it's not Mom. Let's just watch your movie, okay?" But she didn't believe me. She kept glancing toward the woman, her small face full of confusion. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. The resemblance was terrifyingly real. When we landed, I waited deliberately for everyone else to leave the plane first. I wanted to see her up close. As she passed by us in the aisle, I caught her scent. A faint trace of jasmine, the exact perfume Laura used to wear. My knees nearly came out. She turned her head slightly, and for the briefest moment, our eyes met. It was her. I know what I saw. She recognized me, and then, just like that, she hurried down the aisle and disappeared into the crowd. I grabbed Emma's hand and followed, pushing through passengers and baggage carts, calling out, "Wait! Please! Stop!" But by the time I reached the terminal gate, she was gone, vanished in a sea of travelers. Emma was crying now. "Daddy, where's Mom going?" she sobbed. I didn't know what to say. My heart was pounding so violently I thought I'd pass out. I told myself I needed to calm down. Maybe I was seeing what I wanted to see. Maybe grief was playing tricks on me again. But when I opened my phone to check our baggage claim info, I noticed something strange. A text message. It was from an unknown number. No name, just one line. "Please don't follow me." I froze. My hands went cold. My pulse echoed in my ears. That was her writing style. The same punctuation, the same phrasing, the same rhythm Laura always had when she texted.
I turned around, scanning the terminal, desperate to catch another glimpse of her, but all I saw were strangers. People rushing to their destinations, families laughing, couples embracing. And in the middle of all that noise, I suddenly felt completely alone. Whoever that woman was, if it was truly Laura, she didn't want to be found. I had to know the truth. So I took Emma home that night, tucked her into bed, and promised everything was fine. But I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, staring in the dark, clutching my phone. And exactly 2:17 a.m., another message appeared. Please stop looking for me, Daniel. It's safer for both of you. I froze. My hands went cold. My pulse echoed in my ears. That was her writing style. The same punctuation. The same phrasing. The same rhythm Laura always had when she texted. I turned around, scanning the terminal, desperate to catch another glimpse of her, but all I saw was strangers. People rushing to their destinations, families laughing, couples embracing. And in the middle of all that noise, I suddenly felt completely alone. Whoever that woman was, if it was truly Laura, she didn't want to be found. I had to know the truth. So I took Emma home that night, tucked her into bed, and promised everything was fine. But I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, staring in the dark, glitching my phone. At exactly 2:17 a.m., another message appeared. Please stop looking for me, Daniel. It's safer for both of you. I didn't know what scared me more. The fact that she used my name, or that she somehow knew I was still awake. And that's when I noticed something outside my house. A car, parked across the street. Headlights off. Someone was watching us. I remember standing there in my living room, staring out the window at the car parked across the street. The engine wasn't running. No lights, no movement, just silence. It was around 2:30 a.m., and the only sounds I could hear were the wind brushing against the trees and the faint ticking of the old clock on the wall. At first, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe someone's car broke down. Maybe it was a random neighbor's guest, but deep down I knew better. The timing was too precise. That message, it's safer for both of you, and now this car, just sitting there. I decided to step outside. I grabbed my jacket, quietly unlocked the front door, and looked back toward the hallway. Emma's door was closed. She was safe, sleeping soundly with her favorite teddy bear in her arms. I didn't want to wake her. As I stepped onto the porch, the cold night air gagged me like ice. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. I took a few cautious steps forward. The streetlight flickered above me, casting large shadows on the empty road. The car was still there, a dark SUV, windows tinted. Hey! I called out softly, my voice cracking. Can I help you? No response. Not even the faintest sound. I took a few more steps toward it. That's when I saw something that made my stomach drop. The faint glow of a phone screen inside the car. Someone was sitting there, watching. Who are you? I said louder this time. My voice echoed through the quiet street. The phone's light flickered up, and suddenly the SUV's engine roared to life. The headlights flashed, blinding me for a second. I shielded my eyes, and by the time I could see again, the car was speeding down the road, disappearing into the darkness.
I stood there for a moment, frozen. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Whoever it was, they knew where I lived. They'd been watching my house. And the message, it's safer for both of you. What did that even mean? I barely slept that night.
Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt like a threat. I sat near Emma's room until sunrise, making sure she was safe. The next morning, I went through my phone, tried to trace the number that had sent the messages. It was unlisted. No records, no ID. Completely hidden. I felt helpless, trapped between disbelief and fear. But I couldn't let it go. I had to know. That afternoon, after dropping Emma off at school, I went to the airport. I knew the airline we'd flown on, so I went straight to their help desk, pretending I'd lost something on the flight. I asked if they could help me identify a passenger who'd been sitting in seat 14A. The woman my daughter thought was her mother. The attendant politely told me they couldn't release that kind of information, privacy policies, regulations, all that. I felt like screaming. But then, as she turned her screen slightly to check something, I caught a glimpse of the passenger manifest. I only saw it for a second, but it was enough. The name listed next to 14A made my entire body go numb. Laura Bennett. Her name, my wife's name. I thanked the attendant, pretending not to notice what I'd seen, and walked away. My legs were barely able to support me. How could that be possible? She was gone. She had to be. I sat in my car for almost an hour, just staring into nothing. And then, out of sheer desperation, I decided to go to the police. Maybe they could explain it. Maybe they could track the number, confirm if Laura was somehow alive. But when I showed them the messages, the officer frowned and said the number didn't exist in any carrier system. It's probably a spoofed number, he told me. Happens all the time. People use software to send fake texts. But that explanation didn't help, because I knew that writing style. The spacing between her words, the way she never used emojis. That was Laura. I left the station feeling worse than before. On my way home, I stopped by a small cafe to grab some coffee. I was running on 2 hours of sleep. I sat near the window, lost in thought. That's when my phone buzzed again. Another message. You shouldn't have gone to the police. I dropped my cup. Coffee spilled across the table. My chest tightened so hard it felt like I couldn't breathe. How did she know? I looked around the cafe, scanning every face. Was someone watching me? Recording me? My phone buzzed again. Go home. Be with Emma. Don't make me disappear again. My fingers trembled as they typed back. Who are you? Please, just tell me the truth. Are you Laura? No response. I waited for minutes that felt like hours staring at the screen, praying for a reply. Nothing. That night, when I got home, Emma was drawing in her room. Daddy, she said quietly, Mom was here today. I froze. What do you mean, sweetheart? She came to my school. She waved at me through the fence. She told me not to tell you. My heart stopped. I ran outside, scanning the street. There was no one there. No car, no shadow, just silence again. And that's when I realized, whoever this woman was, she wasn't just someone from our past. She was here, watching us. That night, I didn't even bother pretending to sleep. I sat in the living room, the lamp dimmed low, my phone on the table in front of me, waiting, hoping that whoever was behind those messages would text again. But nothing. Hours passed. Just the steady tick of the clock and the soft hum of the refrigerator. Every few minutes, I found myself glancing toward Emma's room, making sure she was still asleep. She looked peaceful. unaware of the storm that was closing in around us. But her words kept echoing in my head. She came to my school. He told me not to tell you. That single sentence had torn apart everything I thought I knew. I needed answers, real ones. The next morning, I drove Emma to school myself. I parked across the street after she went inside and waited, keeping my eyes fixed on the schoolyard. I didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe to see that same woman standing at the fence, watching my daughter again? But no one showed up. Hours passed. The kids went in and out for recess. Parents came and went, but no familiar face appeared. Just as I was about to give up and leave, a small white van stopped near the school gates. A woman stepped out, wearing a hat and sunglasses. My pulse spiked instantly. She was dressed differently, but even from a distance, something about her posture felt familiar. I lowered myself in the seat, trying to stay out of sight, and watched as she handed an envelope to one of the teachers. The teacher nodded, smiled politely, and walked back toward the building. The woman turned her head slightly, and for a split second, I saw her face. It was Laura. She didn't look shocked, or scared, or even sad, just calm, determined, but she knew exactly what she was doing. I jumped out of my car and ran across the street, shouting her name. "Laura, stop!" She froze for a moment, and then she ran. I sprinted after her, weaving through cars and yelling her name again. But she was fast, too fast. She turned a corner and disappeared into a small alleyway behind the shops. By the time I reached it, she was gone. The only thing left was a faint scent of her perfume in the air. That same jasmine smell that had haunted me since the flight. I went back to the school, breathless and shaking, and asked the teacher what was in the envelope that the woman had given her. The teacher looked confused, but handed it to me. She said it was for Emma. I tore it open right there. Inside was a small note and an old photo, a picture of me, Laura, and baby Emma, taken years ago. On the back of the photo, written in Laura's handwriting, were the words, "I'm sorry. It wasn't an accident." My knees almost gave out. The teacher asked me if I was okay, but I couldn't even speak. I stumbled back to the car and sat there for a long time staring at that photo. What wasn't an accident? Her car going off the bridge the night she died? It didn't make sense. Nothing did. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands wrecked. My mind raced. What if someone had forced her to disappear? What if she was protecting us from something all along? When I got home, there was another text waiting on my phone. "You shouldn't have gone to the police." I felt my heart sink. They? Who were they? I tried calling the number this time, my thumb trembling as I hit call. It rang once, twice, and then a voice answered. "Daniel, you need to stop." It was her voice. I knew it instantly. "Laura, Laura, is it really you? Where are you? What's going on?" I shouted, my voice breaking.
There was a pause. I could hear her breathing. Then she whispered, "Please, just take care of Emma. Forget everything else." And before I could say another word, the line went dead. I called back again, but it went straight to voicemail. That evening, I noticed something strange. A black sedan parked across the street, exactly where the SUV had been days before. Two men sat inside, pretending to read newspapers. They weren't neighbors. They didn't belong there. I drew the curtain shut and turned off the lights. My mind was spinning with 1,000 thoughts. If Laura was alive, who was she hiding from? Why did she think we were in danger? Later that night, I opened the photo again and noticed something I hadn't before. Faint writing in the bottom corner, half smudged by water. I tilted it toward the light and finally made out the words. Find room 307. Harbor Inn. Harbor Inn. That was a small motel on the outskirts of town. We'd stayed there once during a road trip. My heart started pounding again. I grabbed my car keys and jacket. I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to see her, to get the truth. Before leaving, I checked on Emma one last time. She was asleep, her little hand clutching the same photo. I kissed her forehead and whispered, I'll bring Mom back. Then I drove into the night. The roads were empty, the sky dark, except for a thin sliver of moonlight. Harbor Inn wasn't far, but every mile felt like an eternity. When I finally arrived, the parking lot was half empty. I walked up to the front desk, trying to look calm, even though my heart was racing. Hi, I said. Can you tell me who's staying in room 307? The clerks hesitated. Sir, we can't give out guest information. I slipped a $50 bill across the counter. Please, it's important. He sighed, checked his computer, then looked up at me. Room 307's been rented under the name Laura Bennett. My mouth dried. I ran up to the stairs, 2 at a time, until I reached the door marked 307. I raised my hand to knock, but before I could, I heard voices inside. A man's voice, and Laura's. My hand froze mid-air. What I heard next made my blood run cold. I pressed my ear against the door, heart pounding so hard it felt like the entire hallway could hear it. Laura's voice is clear, soft, nervous, but definitely hers. After years of thinking she was gone forever, hearing her again was almost unbearable. Then came the other voice, a man's voice, low, firm, and cold. You shouldn't have contacted him. You know what that means. Laura's voice troubled. He deserved to know. He's her father. My breath caught to my throat. Her father. They were talking about me and Emma. I could hear the floor creak as the men started placing. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed the door open. The room is dim, the curtains drawn, one lamp flickering weakly. Laura stood by the bed, eyes wide with shock. Her hair was shorter now, her face thinner, but it was her. Alive. The man turned toward me, startled. He was tall. In his 40s, wearing a dark suit. He reached for something inside his jacket, but I didn't wait to see what. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a lamp, and swung it at him. It crashed against his arm, and he staggered back. Daniel, stop! Laura shouted, running between us. The man cursed, holding his wrist, and glared at me. You shouldn't have come here. Then he stormed past me, out the door, and down the hallway. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of both of our breathing. I looked at Laura, the woman I'd buried in my heart years ago. You're alive, I whispered. How? Why? Tears filled her eyes. I wanted to tell you. God, I wanted to, but if I had, you and Emma wouldn't be safe. I shook my head, completely lost. Safe from who? That man? What's going on? He took my hand, trembling. Please, Daniel, we don't have much time. I'll explain, but you have to promise me you'll listen, no matter how insane it sounds. I nodded. She took a deep breath. That night, the night of the accident, I wasn't alone. I was supposed to meet someone. I'd been working with an investigative firm that was looking into illegal medical experiments, human trials being done off the books, people disappearing and bodies turning up with missing organs, and all of it being covered up by powerful people. I felt chills crawl up my neck.
She continued, I stumbled onto something big. I was close to exposing them. Before they came for me. They ran me off the road. And when they realized I was still alive, they made me an offer to disappear, or they'd make sure you and Emma vanished instead. I stared at her speechless, so I chose to disappear. She said quietly, they faked everything, the car, the body, the funeral, all of that. I've been running ever since, living under different names until I saw Emma again. I could not walk anymore. I stood forward and pulled her into my arms. She sobbed against my chest. All the anger, confusion, and heartbreak I carried for years melted away in that one moment. But the relief didn't last long. There was a knock on the door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Laura's face went pale. They've found us, she said. She grabbed a small double peg from the corner and threw it over her shoulder. We need to go now. I opened the door slightly and peeked into the hallway. The man from before wasn't alone anymore. 2 others stood with him, both wearing black suits, expressionless. Back window, Laurie whispered. We climbed out into the night, down the middle fire escape, and went in through the parking lot. My car was still there. We jumped in, and I floored a tire, screeching as we sped away. She brought me to where I belonged. Where are we going? I shouted. There's a safe house, not far, but they'll follow us. They always do. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Headlights appeared behind us, closing in fast. The chase that followed felt unreal, weaving through empty streets, engine roaring, Laura clutching the dashboard as directions tumbled out of her mouth. Left, now right, through there. We finally lost them near an abandoned industrial area on the outskirts of town. Laura guided me into a narrow alley and pointed to a rusted metal door. Inside was a small, empty storage space, bare except for a single metal table and a few scattered papers. She pulled one out and handed it to me. It was a document, a list of names, dates, and places. These are the people they experimented on. Some of them were never found. The man you saw, his name's Grant Walters. He was part of it. I've been collecting proof for years. I flipped through the papers, stunned, and to my horror, one name I recognized.
Emma Bennett. I froze. Why is Emma's name here? Laura's voice broke. Because they took her blood years ago, after she was born. I didn't realize it until it was too late. She's immune to something they need, and they won't stop until they have her. My stomach twisted. Everything suddenly made sense. The people watching the house, the strange woman at school, the constant fear in Laura's messages. Before I could respond, the sound of tires screeching outside echoed through the walls. Flashlights swept across the windows. Laura looked at me, eyes wide. Take the files. Go to the police. Tell them everything. Don't let them find Emma. I grabbed her shoulders. I'm not leaving you again. She smiled sadly. You have to. The door burst open. Men in black stormed in, shouting orders. Laura pushed me toward the back door, screaming, Go! I ran. The last thing I saw was Laura turning toward them, her hands raised, and then a gunshot echoed through the night. I didn't stop running until I reached the car. My hands were shaking as I started the engine. I don't know if Laura made it out that night. I don't even know if the files will be enough to protect Emma. But one thing I do know, my daughter was right on that plane. The woman she saw was her mother. And now, as I drive away into the darkness, I can't help but wonder if she'll ever truly be gone. Because sometimes the dead don't stay buried, especially when the truth refuses to die with them.